You know, sometimes you just want to slam out something you know nobody's going to give a damn about. The SEO on this is terrible, the subject is relatively unknown, this is, by all means, not a very good way to spend my time. Hello there, my name's Aaox, and I routinely make poor life decisions, so here's a brief review of Patema Inverted, a little 2013 rehash of Disney's Atlantis, a film that was notable for being the first major attempt by a film studio to shove the fact that white hair, blue eyes, tan skin is a very good look into public consciousness. Before their time, perhaps, but none of Van Gogh's paintings were worth anything until he was dead and buried, so at least there's precedent. Patema Inverted, often known under its original title Flip Turned Upside Down, is a film based on the opening sequence of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where Will Smith's on his fun little gravity-defying Beyblade chair, revealing him as the ancient trickster god he truly is. Now, you might think I'm being a dumb jokester, as is my wont, but there's some actual legitimacy to that allegation, because the film is really, more than anything else, about perspective, which is a point I'm certain I'll end up bludgeoning you with incessantly throughout the rest of this review. It's taken very literally without ever directly spelling it out for the viewer, and thank Christ for that, because the last metaphor this blatant I've seen was Valkyria Chronicles' Gadolf Dittler and his schmaltzy party from the land of Bermany, and it results in a take on the typical boy meets girl meets dystopia trope that's equal parts unique and generic, like if Da Vinci tried his hand at a paint by numbers. The film starts with footage of a normal, contemporary, Japanese-looking city with social anxiety, which, upon realizing your gaze is upon it, rips itself apart and flings the pieces into the sky to avoid having to face the reality of interpersonal relationships. And hey, I feel that. That's relatable right out of the gate. Something very bad clearly happened with gravity in the past, and now human society is living in an enclave under the ground in a pleasant but rough-looking steampunk city. Funnily enough, humans are also living above ground in a dystopic city-state run by an incredibly, almost cartoonishly evil character. They're like that EA press conference fellow channeling Cruella de Vil in a theater major. It's a pretty straightforward take on the iron-fisted dictator who knows his empire is built on a house of cards, but hey, it works. These two societies exist separate from one another in more ways than one, so naturally the cultures have to clash through what other than a whirlwind forbidden romance. Tale as old as time. Once a Capulet, now an invert, Shakespeare would surely shit himself if only he could see his storied little legacy. Representing these disparate cultures are Patema, a manic, fun-loving, adventurous go-getter, and Age, a dull, sad, rich tea biscuit of a human being. Unlike a rich tea biscuit, however, he does improve with time, and thank Christ for that, because from the starting gun, you're probably not going to be incredibly positively disposed towards Captain Enthusiastic of the No-Holds-Barred Express. I don't know how you'd react to seeing a cute girl fall up out of a forbidden valley, but I expect your response would be to do more than act like you're watching an episode of The Joy of Painting. So yes, Patema is upside down, or maybe ages. The film intentionally plays games with how it presents the characters' relative positions in the world they come from to make it seem like nobody's quite in the right here. Something I really enjoyed was how Age's society treats the sky like it's a monster. Kids are discouraged from looking up. There are murals depicting people getting pulled into the sky by demonic hands. It's a world where the sky claimed the lives of millions, and now the sky itself is deemed evil. Really, whilst the film, short as it is, doesn't spend a lot of time world building, what little we do know about Iga is very disturbing, but in a subtle way. What really sets Patema Inverted apart is, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, how the film uses orientation and perspective to drive its narrative on both a thematic and a story level. It's one of the most visually striking metaphors I've seen in a long time, in addition to allowing for some incredible visuals. Scenes like this are uncommon, but at times the use of screen space and the mise-en-scène are phenomenal, and often finds itself doing a better job of telling the story than the dialogue does. They use this core conceit, and it is a very cool and unique core conceit, to drive essentially every aspect of the narrative, from its setting to how it delivers its theme to how it visualizes character motivations and relationships to how you, the audience member, interprets what you're seeing. They're all bound to this idea that there are two very different ways to experience the same world at play in the story, and how people can come together despite these massive, seemingly insurmountable differences. These two are clashing, now they're united. These two don't see eye to eye, now they do. The way shots are framed and how characters are positioned in the frame itself is probably my favorite thing about the film, and it's definitely its biggest strength. It only really becomes blatant if you're actively paying attention to it, which Well, I guess I've just made it less enjoyable for you then, sorry. The fact that it takes a second or two for your brain to properly interpolate what it's seeing when shots start out upside down serves as a brilliant metaphor for being unfamiliar with new things, and altogether now, perspectives! Like I said, it's an obvious way to do it, and it is very straightforward, but it still works fantastically without ever being too intrusive to have you actually reorient how you understand the perspectives being presented to you. It goes hand in hand with the whole thing's main conceit. Nearly every major narrative revelation is juxtaposed with a jarring 180-degree shift in perspective. It really is quite clever, if sometimes nauseating. For example, take the main idea of the early relationship development between Patema and Age. Patema is frightened of the sky because to her it's an abyss. Comparatively to Age, the sky is a beautiful thing when he can't understand why his society demand he not engage with. At a certain point, these perspectives are reversed, and Age understands how frightening the sky is while Patema appreciates its beauty. It's a matter of meeting in the middle, the film insists, and again, it's quite intelligently constructed, albeit in a sort of Fisher-Price baby's first empathetic thought experiment kind of way. Of course, the inspired visuals aren't the only pro Patema has going on. The soundtrack is an incredible thing when it wants to be. At its best, it sounds as though John Williams turned weeaboo and started getting in with the Japanese animation crowd, and it lends the film a wonderfully adventurous feel. I mean, the film's basically E.T. anyway, just instead of a demonic, legless, shambling periscope of a thing, we've got Peppy Dreamboat, the manic pixie dream girl. Wow, this really sounds like John Williams. When researching the background of Patema Inverted, I discovered 2 studios attached to the project. The main studio, Studio Deka, whose most notable previous work was Time of Eve, notorious for both being Detroit Become Human but Better, and the incredible plug-and-play MILF who served as its dramatic impetus. The other studio doesn't seem to exist. Purple Cow Studios Japan's website leads to an unregistered domain. It has no logo, no staff credits. It's a ghost. After some digging, I found a trace fund of several $1,000s being pumped into a shell corporation in Nairobi. It's just a regular apartment building. It's time to ask the hard questions. Who are Purple Cow Studios? Why has their existence been erased? Why did their involvement in the industry end in 2014, after which all trace of them vanished? What really happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight 370? Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're onto something big here. What? Oh, the conclusive statement. You're right, I apologize. Let's get back on track. So Patema Inverted definitely isn't groundbreaking or overly complex. Well, I mean, it's not House of Leaves, but its ending certainly caused me a fair bit of confusion, at least on my first watch. And if you do decide to check out Inverted based on this recommendation, a friend and I have collaborated on a very helpful visual guide to show how the world of the film is constructed. Remember, it's important to take notes. Really, Patema Inverted is an exploration of a single idea through a unique lens. They've literally turned the setting and character dynamics into an actual tangible diegetic force. The enigmatic nature of its setting and the conclusions the story reaches might strike you as being a bit too nonsensical, ignoring the substantial suspension of disbelief that oops, half of humanity is upside down forever now might raise to begin with, but if you're looking for a quick, enjoyable, lightweight thing to watch with a stylistic take on character dynamics, you could do a hell of a lot worse than Patema. Hello there, fun little postscript here. So I figure if you've watched this far in a review of something that's relatively obscure like this, you're probably more than just a fair weather friend to this channel, so I feel it pertinent to announce that I do indeed have a Patreon. If you wanted to support me directly, then that would be a fantastic way to do it, because I would love to be able to keep doing this. So if you want to keep seeing videos like this, obviously, feel it incredibly pertinent to announce, nothing will change. Hopefully I can actually make these uploads more frequent. I'm trying to get at least one video out a month. Hopefully that's coming across and you feel like it's actually worth pledging money per month. That would be fantastic. But nothing will be locked behind a paywall. You will get access to a Discord server though, which might be a curse rather than a blessing. But if you do have some kind of income on the side that you might be able to spare, even if it's just $1, I would enjoy it immensely. There'll be an actual proper Patreon announcement video a couple weeks down the line, probably, because it's been up for a while, but I wanted to make sure that I was able to upload a video a month for 3 months straight before I actually started asking for cash, which I've been able to do fantastically, because I want people to feel like they are actually not throwing money at someone who's not doing anything with it. So if you have some money spare, if you have anything, I would enormously appreciate it. Obviously no hard feelings if you don't. I get it. I'm currently in that position, so thank you very much for watching once again. Sorry about this little fun money grubbing sequence. I'm just really poor.